at 6, up through 6.
Make my backswing from that position and then work back through that position.
Yeah, that was a flusher. Okay, so today we're going to talk about getting our hands over our trail thigh and then the hands over the lead ankle at contact.
With a lot of the tour pros, a lot of the better players, where do their hands sort of stack up at impact?
Right over their lead ankle.
Kind of varies based on their swing speed a little bit, right?
A little bit.
How much shaft lean they're having.
Most of the best men, hands over the lead ankle, and even most of the women, you're going to see it close to that. Definitely not going to see the hands on the trail leg like we see with the average amateur.
At impact.
At impact.
Now, at delivery, P6.
Shaft parallel to the ground, for those who don't understand the Ps.
We see a lot of amateurs with their hands back way behind.
We've got
almost outside their right foot.
Gap here.
Big gap.
Yep.
And this club is unloading fast. So you get a lot of scoop. Ball starts high, probably goes left on you with irons and wedges.
So then they cheat the ball way back in their stance to make sure they don't hit it fast.
Yeah.
Or they thrust everything as forward as they can to move the bottom of the arc
Yep.
up to the golf ball.
And then that shaft gets pointed right back at us. Hello. Right?
Or even behind us. I've had guys show up to my tee where at impact, yeah, I've seen that.
Woo!
Exciting. So with the best players, we definitely see, and this is across the board, men, women, all of them, at shaft parallel, if you look at the grip cap, it's in front of their...
I'll grip down a little bit. How about that?
It's right in front of their trail leg at shaft parallel. And then how it releases, some guys you keep turning really hard and staying down and you deliver a lot of lean in the shaft and the handle is way out in front. Other people are extending more and unloading the shaft a little bit more. Generally we see that pattern more with the ladies.
But they're still getting down into sort of this
They're getting into that delivery position, and then how they move through that might vary. A lot of the ladies might be extending and throwing the loft at it a little bit more.
Yeah. Now obviously this isn't a static position. I don't hit the golf ball from right here. No. So how are we sort of getting into that delivery position? That's the question.
Most people, when they deliver or when they transition with what they call the bump.
Yep.
And they bump this way. Well, now they're setting themselves up for that flip. A lot of tilt away. Other people think that the way they get their hands up in front of them is by pulling their hands in front of them. And that also will create some of that in the pelvis. Mm-hmm. So I like to feel I get my hands out in front of my trail leg by flexing into the ground and letting my tailbone work behind me, which pulls my chest around and gets my arms right in front of me. That's what links it all up.
Yep.
It's not a firing of the hips.
I would say from this perspective too, down the line, maybe you've been told to get the hands to work down, drop down. Okay. The problem with that too, I find, is that now we have to add some slide and you still get this look anyway. So the down is happening more, in our opinions, from us flexing into the ground.
Yeah,
would you say?
I would say the majority of the down we see is happening from hip flex and spine bending. So your hands appear to be moving down, but relative to your body, they're not moving that much.
Yeah. Side bend, you just said it. A lot of people are probably watching me make these little, again, I call this sort of a pump and go. We're going to do this in a little bit. We're actually hitting balls, so stay tuned. But so a lot of people are seeing this video and they're focusing on this trail elbow. They're thinking, okay, he's driving the elbow to get to that position. Not quite. So we did a video on this too, on the trail elbow.
Yeah.
I'll tag it here.
I like to show this so I can have both arms. This is called internal rotation of my shoulders. And with both arms internally rotated, they're locked in internal rotation. You can see my trail elbow gets out in front of me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this with an externally rotating too much. Now there is some amount, I don't stay in internal rotation. My trail shoulder does have some external rotation in it, But the majority of the movement we see from the arms is actually coming from the rib cage or the spine.
And show them, turn around so they can see that. So how your spine is moving, how he's bending from the rib cage, that's going to play a big part in getting to that delivery position we're talking about.
For sure.
It's bouncing from left bend to right bend and flexing into the ground. So those of you that are looking for that more powerful, dynamic delivery position, not one like this, that's a big part of it.
Yep. They can go back and look through a lot of our videos. We talk about how we flex into the ground, how our spines move.
Yeah.
This is all related. So if I want to arrive in this delivery position we see from the best, I've got a lot of right side bend here, even though I'm not tilted, so I don't have much tilt, but I have a lot of right side bend, and that's what's driving my arms out in front of me, and I also have a lot of hip flex.
Yeah. So the appearance of those hands in front of the thigh, a lot of it has to do with what our pelvis is doing. If it's getting a lot lateral, well, your hands aren't going to be on your thigh in that position, or else you'd miss the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to probably be behind it. So getting your pelvis to move more in this fashion. So how we're landing, how our legs are working, and then also how our spine is bending and working chest down to get our hands lowering without actually dropping them. It's more a correlation of all those movements and not just exclusively getting my hands over the thighs.
I like to look at the golf swing as a system, and it's not a one thing. So a lot of people say, oh, I've got to swing, get my back to the target, get my hands down, turn.
Yeah.
I think it's more complicated than that. I think it's more of a full system of motion all tied together.
Again, an exercise I like to do for this is sort of what I call a pump and go drill. So I'm going to basically come down to delivery position, just like if I was rehearsing impact, except I'm going to rehearse delivery. So sort of that pump and go feel, that club is staying back to my right a little bit. It's actually a little behind my hands, not way out in front. And then my hands are sort of over my right thigh. You probably notice I have a little knee flex, I have some hip hinge, my chest is sort of down over here, and I got that nice wrist extension we talk about as well.
So let's have you do the pump and go and hit one, and we'll be able to slow it down and show the audience where your hands are at that shaft parallel point in time.
A little thin, but not too bad. Let me hit one more.
So I want you to start at 6, up through 6.
Make my backswing from that position and then work back through that position. Let me see if I can slow it down a little bit. So,
yeah, that was a flusher.
those are hard drills though.
Oh, they are. Definitely hard.
Kind of keeps you coordinated, having to go from here into backswing and then down into the ball into impact. So
it's tough to synchronize it all, but
so that's where the flow comes in.
Yeah, but for a lot of people that'll feel so different from what they normally do.
Yeah, well, and they might not even realize unless they get on video that they're actually hitting it like this, you know.
Yeah, that's like really common.
So to actually get down to here and hit a few short ones, that's going to be like mind-blowing.
Yep.
Okay, Milo, so I showed them how to get to that delivery position. Why don't you show us real quick how to get from the hands above the right thigh and then over the ankle at impact. How do you make that last little portion in impact?
Okay, the big key is if I've kind of landed and flexed down into the ground like this, now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and let my lead side start to extend and keep turning, and that turning will bring the club all the way into impact where the grip's over my lead foot, like that. So you just keep the rotation going.
Keep it going.
That's it. So I'll hit one here, and you should be able to see that my hands are over my lead foot at contact. So the big key there is the rotation keeps going. So as I'm turning through, I'm not just getting to here jumping up and throwing my hands at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm turning, so I'm getting my left side to go around behind myself.
So versus pushing.
Yeah, so that's another
the
question
handle.
we get.
So it doesn't go from here and then here. If you unwind, do sort of that tailbone turn you've talked about, and then start to push up and back, that gets the hands to that position. And there's going to be a little bit of an unload just because of physics.
Yeah, you've created an angle, you move the angle in a circle, the angle wants to unwind. It's just physics, it's what happens. The key is we're sequencing it by creating flex into the ground, starting to unwind things, and then keeping things unwinding, not firing our hips laterally, getting out in front of it, and then having to figure out how to olay it.
Yeah, a lot of people want to hit that ball. So this will, if you slow down and do sort of this pump drill, and then what Milo is talking about, you're more or less moving through the ball. The ball's getting in the way of your motion versus you consciously trying to hit something so hard.
Yeah.
So that's what we see a lot on the lesson tee as well. So slowing you down is a big part. So take some videos of your swing face on, and check out where your hands are sort of in P6 into impact P7. What's kind of happening? What are you seeing there? And then if you're like, man, I really could use some help with this, well, that's why we have an online academy, milolinesgolf.com. Come check it out, and we'll show you step by step how you can achieve more of this look through the hitting area and get that ball going out instead of so up, right?
Yeah.